Morning glory and evening grace, America. Byron York joins me a little earlier than he normally does. He is, of course, with the Washington Examiner, chief political correspondent, Fox News contributor extraordinaire. Byron, did you happen to be at the White House Correspondents Association dinner? I was not. I was at a junior high school student play.
I was not. The last one I went to was 2017, which is the first one that Trump wasn't there, and I thought that would be newsworthy, and it was. And I kind of kicked myself for not going to this one because it was newsworthy too.
I believe the first one I went to was the same one, but that was when the so-called comedian was so awful to Sarah Huckabee Sanders that I said, I don't need to ever do this again. Yeah. And it's not my kind of an event. I kind of hate those events. But
well, Trump had a chance to, I wouldn't say just put an end to the dinner, but it was pretty close because, you could see in 2017 when Trump was there, you could see how dependent the entire dinner is on the presence of the President of the United States, even if it's one they all hate. But having the President there just makes the event. And when the President is not there, they might as well be having a First Amendment brunch somewhere. And it was really fascinating. And, of course, Trump skipped it all 4 years of his first term and the first year of this term. And it's still not totally clear to me why he agreed to do it this time.
Well, the good thing about the 2017 dinner is that they invited Hall of Famers from the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I walked in and a guy jumps up and says, Hugh Hewitt, I love what you do. And it's Dennis Eckersley, who was a childhood hero of mine. He threw for the Indians. And I went, abba, dabba, 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 because Dennis Eckersley. So I was stunned for the first half of the dinner. And then the comedian came on and was just so slanderous. It was not my thing. All right. The Comet, you remember, don't you? The Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria shootout. That was 10 years ago in December.
Yeah.
That shooter was a victim of internet-fueled conspiracies having to do with child rape and hostage-taking, and he went crazy. He was a lunatic. He was sentenced to 4 years by now Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. What is the difference between this guy on Saturday night and that guy 10 years ago?
The guy on Saturday night has a lot more people who agree with him in his crazy ideas.
Yes.
If you read the Cole Allen's manifesto, the key part of it, first of all, it's an oddly kind of good-natured manifesto. He expected to be killed in this, and it was almost kind of cheerful. If you look at the key allegation here, he calls Trump a pedophile, a rapist, and a traitor. Now, if you go to any one of a bunch of anti-Trump media outlets or social media platforms especially, you'll see that stuff all over the place. They call him that all over the place. And then, I believe it was just today, Andrew Kaczynski, the guy at CNN, said he went through 4,700 of Cole Allen's social media posts and found that Allen, one, compared Trump to Hitler. We've seen that a lot. Two, urged Trump haters to buy guns. Three, wanted to nullify the 2024 presidential election results. We can talk about that. And four, he suggested that the Butler assassination attempt on Trump had been faked. You've seen that a lot. So Cole Allen, which is kind of like a sponge for every crazy thing that is said on social media platforms. And the scary thing, of course, is that there are a lot of other people like that.
There are. Now, I want to go back to my parallel event, the Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria shootout. In the immediate aftermath of that, even people like me who had never heard of Pizzagate immediately realized, oh, that's a 4chan QAnon crazy person. And although 4chan and QAnon were already sort of diseased and radioactive, they became completely unacceptable. The parallels to 4chan and QAnon from 10 years ago right now are Blue Sky and Jimmy Kimmel. Will they suffer the same kind of repulsion and revulsion that haunted 4chan and QAnon after that incident?
I think the answer is going to be no. I don't think they will, especially just because there's so much. And I do remember feeling almost sorry for this guy who went and he fired his rifle one time inside Comet Pizza.
Into the roof, yeah.
He was going to rescue the children who were allegedly being abused by like Hillary Clinton and John Podesta or some other thing. That it was just it was completely detached from
lunacy.
reality.
Lunacy.
But what you say about Blue Sky and Kimmel and other platforms is absolutely true. This kind of stuff gets said all the time.
Now, I'm going to say a controversial thing. If you went to a No Kings rally, that does not make you complicit in this statement, would-be assassins manifesto. But if you went to a No Kings rally, you saw a lot of signs. And if you went to a No Kings rally, some of those signs encouraged violence, almost certainly. What's your obligation if you go to an event where there's violence being called for, Byron?
You mean just as a participant? I don't think you have.
As a moral test. If you're at a, yeah, should you leave?
No, I actually covered the No Kings rally in Boston this year. It was pretty big, and there were lots of signs like that. I don't think one had a moral obligation to leave, but so no, I don't think so.
We disagree on that. I think if this is a problem, if there's a current running through the left, and by the way, we have our nuts on the right, and they're lunatics, and they have their own conspiracy theories. And Pizzagate's not dead yet, by the way. I've been told by people that it still lives in the darkest corners and recesses of the internet. I do think you have to distance yourself from this stuff, or you get mud splattered on you. You're not complicit, just you're really hanging out with these people. Do you want to hang out with these people? Do you want them in your party? And now the Democrats, I'll talk with people can go look on my YouTube, and I'll talk later with Mike Rogers of Michigan. His party, the Democrats in Michigan, have lost their minds.
Well, you're absolutely right about this, and shaming is perfectly acceptable in these situations. However, just like in other political situations, I think a lot of this is, constitutionally protected speech in the sense of a No Kings rally. But I think it's important to say here that when we talk about these crazy beliefs, I do think millions of Americans have them, and at the same time would never think of getting a gun and going to try to kill the president. I think, obviously, Cole Allen was somebody who did, and there have been two other attempts where people with guns either shot the president, as happened in Butler, or got very close to doing it, as happened in Palm Beach. So I think the factor that the fact that Trump is such a target for so many people has got to mean that the presidential security system works differently for the duration of his time in office. There have been too many close calls. And if it means that the president is more distanced physically from the American people, I think that just has to happen.
Byron, we're pretty comfortable as a nation that no country can do to us what we in Israel did to the Iranian leadership and what Israel did to the Hezbollah leadership, which is drop successive bombs on a gathering of the most important people. But do you think the White House Correspondents Association dinner is doomed in the era of drones? It's just the softest of targets. It really is. I mean, you can go to Union Station, you can go to where networks gather, you can go to all sorts of, but the softest of targets is the Washington Hilton. Luckily, it's a one-person lunatic and not an Iranian death squad, right?
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that virtually the entire U.S. presidential line of succession was in that room. I mean,
right.
It's just astonishing. I think people were looking around and saying, well, it's a good thing Charles Grassley is not here. Senator Grassley, who is close, I guess, 90 years old now, is the president pro temp of the Senate, and thus is in line for the presidency before you start getting the cabinet members. But, I mean, virtually the entire line of succession was there, so that was a bad idea. Now,
bad idea. Although Grassley as president wouldn't be bad. We'd have ethanol and everything, but it wouldn't be bad, right? And the History Channel would come back to being the History Channel. Byron York, always good to talk to you. Follow him on X at Byron York, and stay tuned, my friends. I've got Bethany Mandel next on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, coming to you from